Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Spooky stories. It's almost Halloween and I can't find anything good on /x/. Post them here.
Well, since we're doing Greentext spoops, be working as a security guard. Armed, taser, baton, the works. I have to make my bones in the company by doing overnight patrol route. Catch the route no one ever wants. Includes one haunted apartment building, abandoned shopping center, and a fun little drive through a privately owned canyon in the foothills. Being the new guy, nobody warns me about any of this stuff. Just post orders, car, and get a move on. Get to apartment building and grab keys to turn off the elevator and lock the laundry room, etc. The place is known locally for self-terminations, murders, and is really old. On the ground floor, lock up the laundry room at the end of a creepy hallway. No other doors. Look down the hall real quick and turn back. Hello. Holy hell, where did you come from? Olive-skinned girl, about 18 to 20, long dark hair, wearing what I can only describe as a long gray pillowcase with holes for head and arms cut. Barefoot. Smiles, so beautiful and also sad. Recover my composure and grin with a good officer-friendly, "Good evening, ma'am." Turn my head and shake the doorknob for the laundry room, and as I turn back to exchange further pleasantries, gone. The only door from the hallway is the laundry room I just locked. The only way out is past me down a 30 to 40-foot hallway and back out into the building foyer. What to myself a second, then nope, back down the hall. Make it to the foyer and call the elevator ride to the top before turning it off and locking it. Client's rules, not mine. Clunker even had one of those old-timey accordion gates inside. Turn to start walking down the hallway to the stairwell. The door at the far end of the hallway is open. Not wide open, just enough to see inside. Remember, client noted to lock the door if ever found open. Grumble, grumble, boring a barn. Stick my head in the doorway to make sure the room is empty before closing. The room is bare, hardwood floor, faded wallpaper. A single small window lets moonlight in. Take a step into the room because I feel like someone is in there. Take another step in. Grab out the flashlight. Literally a small studio with a single window, nothing else. WTFing all over because I never feel like this. Look up at the ceiling and see a crossbeam of building cutting across the room. As I stare up at it, sudden tightening feeling in my throat. Wave of overwhelming despair crushes my chest. Feel like a rope is constricting my airway. Room suddenly rushes into an icy cold. Stumble backward, catch my heel on the doorframe and land on my ass out in the hallway. Door which I had opened wide to look into the room, slams shut. Lock clicks. Spiral down all 5 flights of stairs and out onto the street before I know it. Turn to look up at the building. Dark-haired girl from the laundry hallway is looking down at me with that smile from the top floor room, backlit by a lamp. Turns away from the window. Light goes out. It took me an hour and half a pack of cigarettes to marshal myself into driving again. Talked to my friend in the company afterward and he apologized. Said he would have warned me if he knew I got that route. All the old-timers know not to check the room. Said if it does get found open, there was a stick with a hook on it in a closet down the hall to pull the door closed. No one ever tries to lock it. Few weeks later, I had to do a patrol through a privately owned canyon. Got warned by my work bro about this one. Firearm required patrol hit. Doesn't make sense. The road through the canyon comes off Suburban Street. Canyon entry blocked to the public by chain link fence and massive steel gate. Literally 20-foot tall, 40-foot wide, 3-inch thick steel gate. Around the office is referred to as the Jurassic Park account. Client demands armed guard patrol up to a dead end in the road and back down. Issues cited being reports of prowlers, suspicious noises, and transients. No shit. Briefing papers literally had transients in quotes. Should have known then. So new guy, me, goes to account. Opens chain link and drives in. Shuts chain link. Muscle open the Jurassic Park gate. Start driving up into the canyon. Mind you, it is 0 a.m. pitch black. Driving 5 miles per hour with the car lit up like I'm signaling to space. Cliffs on one side, rock face on other. Opens to an area with scrub woods on one side. Stop for a moment before realizing the shape up ahead is a deer. Tunnel. Like the tunnel everyone uses in the Bunnyman story. Drive into the tunnel, handgun in lap at this point. Drive out and think I hear scuffle from round the bend in the road ahead. Twigs snapping, leaves rustling along the road next to the car. Turn the spotlight towards a weird shadow that pops out a moment. Oh my holy shit. I'm praying as hard as I can to whatever fluffy and merciful deity will listen, please. B. Deer. The rictus visage of a humanoid. Gray skin. Beady eyes. No clothing. Skeletal almost. Head snaps up and shields its eyes from spotlight before yanking broken deer carcass behind tree. Open door, gun pointed, screaming for it to come out. Silence. Get back in the car, drive down to Jurassic Park gate and call partner. Partner calls the boss calls me an idiot and calls the client. The client demands my number from the boss and calls me, has me explain, gets really excited and tells me to lock Jurassic Park gate and flee most expeditiously, whatever you say. The client put the phone down but didn't hang up right away. Hear yelling that, the guard company found it, near the tunnel, click. At the end of that month, the client closed the contract and paid out remaining fees and breach penalties like it was nothing. I ended up signing an NDA and getting a $500 bonus, and was called an idiot by my boss again. Went driving with work buddy to find Jurassic Park gate again, about 6 months ago. We pulled up and the gate was gone, the chain link fence was gone, and the road was open. Cuts all the way from one road, up through the tunnel and down into another neighborhood. God damn it, that job sucked.
I have something happened back when I was still a kid. When I was still living in the rural part of the Philippines. Stories with ghosts and dwarves that live inside trees are pretty common and are usually told by older people, so yeah. I apologize in advance if I leave a few things out. Be me, 4 or 5-ish. Watching cartoons in the living room with my mom. Suddenly I see a curtain dancing. The curtain moved towards me while it was still dancing. Remember the curtain grabbing me by the foot. Mom bolts towards me while telling the curtain to stay away. Mom picks me up and shoves me into the car while she fumbles with the keys. Remember her crying and telling me not to fall asleep. We arrived at my grandma's place. Mom tells her what happened, but I was too confused to understand what she was saying. Grandma tells my mom to call her neighbors. Grandma hugs me and tells me to stay awake. Rubs a leaf on my forehead. Old neighbors along with my mom arrive carrying leaves. They then proceed to shake the leaves around me for 5 to 10 minutes, probably even longer. Stranger though was the fact that I started to feel drowsy. Grandma shouts at me to stay awake. She lights a candle in front of me and tells me to stare at it. I begin to get scared and ask her what's going on. Just tells me to stare at it, so I did. Don't know what happened, but I woke up in my grandma's bedroom. Everyone was staring at me and sighing in relief. Grandma puts an amulet around me and I hear something wail in the distance. They hear it too, and my grandma shouts and tells it to go away and never come near us again. Makes me drink coconut water mixed with something. They shake leaves around me again, and they tell me that everything is going to be okay.
Hey, I actually have one to tell that I just remembered. One day when I'm 12 years old or so, my mom sits me down to talk with me after work. Really strange. She never does this, and it was out of the blue. Tells me she has a story about when she was a kid, and it's gonna sound a bit weird, but she has to tell someone. She told her dad, but he's since passed away, and someone else has to know. Anyway, story goes that my mom was about my age when she moved into a house with her dad. They were always moving every few years, never staying in one place for too long. This house is older, in an old part of town, but it's pretty nice. Mom gets the feeling she's being watched but doesn't tell her dad about it. Has many nightmares and has to sleep in bed with her dad a lot, but tries to be brave. Dad doesn't get a lot of sleep either. Mom spends a lot of time home alone because her dad was always busy at work, so she would take the day to explore the house and neighborhood, and then barricade herself in her father's room at night, waiting for him to come home at midnight or later. During her daytime exploration, she becomes obsessed with finding secret passageways, as she'd read about them in books and had a dream about one. Behind the fireplace in the living room, she finds a panel that's loose, and she pulls it off, revealing a door. She opens it, and it opens outward. She steps in. Now this is a part that really hurt her to tell me about. Behind the fireplace, it was warm and kind of dark, and there were a few dark alcoves. She's on her hands and knees and looks into one of them, and leaned up against the side is a corpse with blood on it. She screams and hits her head on the low ceiling and frantically tries to escape. Stranger, though, was the fact that the door she came in is blocked by something on the outside. She bangs against the door, but it hardly budges. She's screaming, crying, hyperventilating. My mom is in tears telling the story, and she never cries. I'm shaken up. She turns around and she sees the outline of the corpse in the dark, still sitting there propped up against the wall. Mom can't escape and is certain she's going to die, starts hitting her elbows against the wall and even smashes her head against the door. She's absolutely losing it. She is trapped here for hours as the sun goes down and all remaining light disappears. Somewhere in there is the corpse. Outside, she hears the back door unlock and her dad walks inside. She starts screaming and pounding on the door, and her dad rushes over to the fireplace. A heavy scraping sound, and she shoves the door open and he pulls her out. He's absolutely stunned. Mom crying as she points into the hidden room and describes the body to her dad and how she was trapped there. She looks over and sees that somehow someone had dragged the safe her dad had in front of the door while she was in without her hearing. Her dad hugs her tight and grabs a flashlight and crawls into the opening. He shines it around and explores the whole thing. Stranger, though, was the fact that there's no body, and he explains that to my mom. She tells him that it was there, and he believes her. He tells her he saw something strange once. Somehow the corpse had disappeared. He assures her that he will sell the house soon and they will move out in a week. He closes the door and puts the panel back on, nails the door shut, and moves the safe in front of it. That night, the two of them didn't sleep. Grandpa arranges to pick up my mom and bring him to work, but one of his asshole managers won't let him bring her on the days he's supervising, which is 3 a week. After school one day, my mom spends the entire time locked in her dad's room doing homework. She hears a sound of a pop and something unlatches behind her. A panel on the wall next to her father's bed had swung open like a door and creaked before it hit the wall. Mom is scared, but curious. Grabs flashlight and leans over the bed to peer into the space. This doorway is almost as tall and wide as her dad, but leads into a short, narrow hallway with some steep stairs at the end. She is too scared to explore, so she is about to reach for the panel and close it when a pounding on her father's door starts. The door starts shaking as if it's about to give way. She runs into the opening and slams the hidden door shut behind her, trapped in darkness save for her flashlight beam. Hears a crack and the bedroom door breaks open. Heavy, slow footsteps in the room that pace around the bed and back again before settling next to the hidden door. Mom retreats slowly back up the stairs at the end of the passage. This leads her to a crawl space area above the second floor, and she follows one of the paths leading towards her room. As she goes along, she notices little vents and openings that one could peer out of. Finally, she reaches the area above her room and sees her bed in plain view. Stranger, though, was the fact that if someone was up here, they could have easily watched her without her seeing them. The house had ornate woodwork, and this peephole was hidden up there somewhere on the molding. She's paralyzed by the fear of it and whatever is in her father's bedroom. She stays up there for some time, she said about an hour. Back door unlocks, and her father walks up the stairs to find his bedroom door broken. He panics and shouts for my mom. She answers him, but it's muffled, and she crawls back the way she came. Opens hidden door and steps out to her shocked father. Explains what happened to him. He examines the passages and is deeply disturbed. That night he quits his job as they won't let him take the night off. Nowhere for them to stay until the house is sold, and there it is freezing cold and snowing out. They called the police to report the intrusion, but the police are busy with other things at the moment and promise to send an officer as soon as possible. Grandpa decides out of desperation to try spending the night at the neighbors'. The two of them dress up in warm clothes and gather bags to spend the night. By now, there's a foot or two of snow out, and they walk to the neighbor's house. Grandpa knocks on the door, but nobody answers, rings the doorbell, and no response. Heads to the next house, nobody answers, then the next. Crosses the street to try again, and tries 5 different houses. Both are panicking and starting to freeze. They head back to spend the night in his car, but when they approach it, all the windows have been smashed. Terrified and nearly freezing, they head back inside. Grandpa's door is busted, so they spend the night in Mom's room. Moves her dresser in front of the door, and he locates the peephole and stuffs it full of some cotton. The two, of course, never sleep. They take turns reading a book, waiting for the sun to rise. Until late in the night, they hear something scraping against the floor downstairs. It's the safe, being pushed along the floor. Stranger, though, was the fact that the two look at each other, and Grandpa hugs her tightly. They both have tears in their eyes, and Grandpa runs over to grab a knife he had by the table. Then they hear the creaking as the thing walks up the stairs and slowly towards Mom's room. Mom is shaking and silently sobbing while her dad holds her tight. The thing starts slamming on the door, absolutely wailing on it. Grabs Mom and runs over to the window and pulls it open and looks below. It's not too big of a fall, and there's 2 or 3 feet of snow built up there. Grabs my mom, and the two of them look at the door as it shakes with each hit. Holds her tight and jumps into a snow pile, landing on his feet very hard. Curses in pain and looks up as a final crash is heard. A figure moves into view and stands by the window. It's the corpse my mother had seen, but with new life in it. Blood dripping down it, eyes appear to be missing, just dark sockets. Tilts its head to one side and looks down at them. Grandpa runs as fast as he can through the snow while carrying my mom. Keeps going for blocks and blocks through the shallower snow in the road. Eventually, he reaches downtown and runs into a 7-Eleven. Begs the manager and he agrees to let them spend the night in the store. The two fall asleep on the floor in the back office. In the morning, Grandpa decides nobody can live in that evil house. Returns to his home and torches it. Burns down entirely save for the foundation, the fireplace, and the secret room behind the fireplace, all brick. He made it look like an accident, and the inspectors bought it. Police are a bit suspicious because of the call to the police the night before and the broken glass on his car, but decide it's not worth their time. Not like he's trying insurance fraud or anything, and he's an outstanding citizen. The two moved away to live with family after that. Grandpa passed away not too long ago. Mom takes me to see the site of the house a week later. Stranger, though, was the fact that somebody had rebuilt it around the brick foundation. She burst into tears, and we drive away. Never talk about it again.
Up here. I'll post the one creepy thing that happened to me. Pretty recent, too. Maybe a month ago. Be me. Hanging out with my best friend and my 2 kids, 7 and 5, at my house. My daughter wants to play her favorite game, hide and seek. I take it way too seriously. I love hiding so well the kids can't find me. The house is kinda big, 3,000 square feet or so. There is a pile of clothes by my bed. I hide halfway in the pile and halfway under the bed. Proud of my spot, I wait. I don't remember who it was originally, but eventually I hear everyone but me get found. My kids and friend are looking for me. Hear the footsteps heading towards my room. Sounds like only one person. Hear the footsteps come into my room. My spot is directly in front of the door, 10 feet away. Oh boy, they are in the room. Here we go. Hold breath and wait. And wait. Nothing happens. I'm positive someone is standing just feet away from me. Suddenly, I hear friend and kids in the guest room talking as they look for me. Who is standing in front of me? I'm even stiller than before, unable to move. I sit like that in silence and fear for what feels like 20 minutes before my kids and friend finally come through the room and find me. Still no idea what I heard come into my room. My wife has heard a few creepy things in this house. A lot more in our old house, though.
There's a strange person in my house. Hide under a pile of clothes and a bed until my 5- and 7-year-old children come and rescue me from the spooky skeleton.
When I was a kid, my parents moved our family in with our grandparents because we were struggling and poor. Our room was at the back of the house, just across the hall from our grandparents, and since we were so small, we shared a queen-sized bed. We had this huge metal wardrobe in the room. It belonged to my grandma, but I think we kept our toys in it. A piece of wood held the doors shut when it wasn't in use, since it was old and didn't have a latch. Anyway, after a while we started to hear very loud, frantic banging coming from inside it. I don't remember when it started, but I remember waking up one night and being terrified because it was so loud and so close. I remember staying up some nights just listening to it, and a few times I'd look over and my brother would just be looking at me. We'd stare at each other in silence, both scared but afraid to say anything or move. Sometimes it even seemed like the wardrobe would shake from the force of whatever was inside. My mother doesn't remember us telling her about the banging, but when I brought it up, she told me that she remembers both of us were terrified of the wardrobe, and we wouldn't go near it after a while. It was moved into the basement when we moved out of that room. What's really odd is that even though my brother and I both heard the banging, none of the adults ever did. The door was always left open, since we were so young at the time and nobody ever came in to see if something was wrong. It was like they couldn't hear it. One night when we were a little older, I remember sitting up with my brother in that room, wide awake even though it was well into the night. We were talking quietly in the dark while the house creaked around us. I remember him looking up at the ceiling and saying, "You know when the house creaks and cracks at night? And they say it's just the house settling? They're lying. It's something else. The house is already settled. There's something else here making noises."
Be me, 15, staying at Dad's house, sleep downstairs on a sofa bed. About 3 or 4 in the morning, just turned off the TV and ready to go to bed. Lying on my left-hand side, TV behind me. Trying to sleep for about 5 minutes now. All of a sudden, it sounds like about 15 people are talking behind me. My eyes darted open. It's really loud, and I'm thinking that I'll get in trouble if it wakes anyone up. Roll over thinking that I must have just accidentally turned the TV back on. It wasn't. These voices keep talking for about 5 more seconds. As quickly as they had started, they stopped. I was scared shitless, looking around for what could have caused it. Look out the window to see if there's anyone outside, but we live out in the country, and our only neighbors are an old couple. After about an hour of lying there awake, I eventually start drifting off to sleep. It happens again. This time it only sounds like about 7 people. This time I just keep my eyes shut tight because I don't want to see any spooks. It feels like the voices are talking for about 5 minutes, but it was probably only 30 seconds. Eventually, my cat comes into the room and sits down next to me. A few seconds later, the voices stop again. I didn't sleep that night, but at least my cat was there, so I wasn't bricking it too much. I remember asking my dad about it the next morning, but he thought I was just bullshitting him. I also asked my stepmom about it, because she grew up in that house, and she said that she had some spooky stuff happen to her when she was about my age in her room, but that was my stepsister's room, and she didn't want to go into it because my stepsister scares easily.
I haven't thought about this in 10 years, but here goes. Move into the house with my sister, mom, and new stepdad and his kids. The house is old as shit, but it's been worked on and extended plenty over the years. Sometime in the first month, a few of us start hearing noises in the roof at night. Stepdad spends ages looking for a trapdoor or holes in the roof to fill and put traps in there. Gives up and calls the old landlord, Says it's in the laundry but probably been painted over. Bingo, find it. Stepdad has me holding some rat poison and traps while he looks around with the torch. Suddenly he stops talking mid-sentence and just stands there on the ladder for a while. He steps down and tells me to have a look. He's got pretty poor eyesight. It's a pillow and blanket that look like they're from the 50s. Stranger, though, was the fact. We throw them in the trash. They look and smell absolutely disgusting. Tell my mum, but not anybody else. Other kids don't need to hear about that. 1 week later, my sister woke up my mum in tears. Says she saw someone walk into her room as she was walking back after going to get water or something. Stepdad tells me about it the next day after being woken up and checking it out. His kids were both asleep, as was I. She has a history when it comes to seeing weird shit when she was younger, so no one thinks anything more of it. In my room a few weeks later in bed doing whatever teenage me was doing up late. The room is isolated from the rest of the house in an old study. It's a windy night. Finally get to sleep. Wake up hearing constant scratches on my windows, and what sounds like a possum in the roof above me. Not really phased though, it's just the wind blowing a branch at my window, like I was used to from my old house. Next morning, after barely sleeping and concerned about my windows, I go have a look outside. Outside is a jungle. Only had a brief look before, but nothing but a shed no one uses. Stranger though was the fact that there's no bushes or trees remotely near any window near my room. Visible scratch marks, just random and quite high up. Not much of a story, but it was the spookiest year of my life living in that shitty house.
Be me. About 6 or 7. Older sisters used to collect porcelain dolls. Pick-related. They always creeped me out, especially since Child's Play came out around that time, and they forced me to watch it. I remember they were both staying at the neighbors one night. I didn't have a TV in my room, but they did. Go downstairs in their room and start watching TV. Completely surrounded by about 14 dolls on little stands all looking towards the bed. I don't know why they had them facing that way because it was creepy. Get up and turn them around so they aren't facing me. Fall asleep watching TV. Stranger though was the fact that I woke up. All the dolls are looking at me. Nope. Never went back to their room after that again. Sometimes when I look back on it, I think it was my mind playing tricks on me. But I know it happened. No one believed me, and they said I was just paranoid.
I have plenty more. Okay, doozy story. Driving patrol route about 2 or 3 months after the Jurassic Park account incident. Get call from my work buddy. Says he's working other route that night and got a call from the boss that the alarm is going off at the abandoned strip mall we service. Patrol driving sucks. I'm rolling. Get there just after buddy. Let's call him Tiny. Completely for irony's sake. Tiny waits for me to hop out of car and unlocks the gate. The place must have had a space theme or something when they designed it. All white facade, curves and angles. 2-story plaza with stairs, elevator, walkway. Anyway, we go around, pull a couple doors, nothing's looking broken. Suddenly my phone rings, gives us both a startle. It's the boss. Literally yells, "What the fuck did you do?" As soon as I pick up. We pulled on the doors, boss, honestly. He goes into a tirade about the client calling him saying fire alarm is on, break-in alarm is triggered from all sensors, and elevator entrapment alarm is going off on his setup at home. Site is dead quiet. Work buddy gets on the phone and tells boss to get off my back, nothing's going on. Client system must be fucked. Hands me back the phone and the boss says he doesn't give a shit. If anything is broken, I'm fired. Hangs up on me. I start taking pictures as my work buddy opens the security breaker closet. The elevator at the end of the walkway dings and opens. Pitch black inside elevator car. Both shine lights into the car. Doesn't break the dark. Can't even see the back of the car. Tiny draws his gun. Walks toward the elevator with it hanging down by his leg. I say his name real slow with a question mark at the end as I draw too, just as he's about to step into a black void where the elevator car should be. Cell phone rings again and he snaps out of whatever funk pull fugue state he was in. Literally jumps 3 feet in the air and yells, "Nah!" in shock. Retreats away from the elevator, pointing the gun. Elevator doors slam shut and elevator dings, display showing it's descending to the basement. Tiny looks pissed and says, "That thing tried to eat me." Waves for me to follow and runs downstairs to the basement. The elevator is waiting, doors closed. Hits the open button and steps back, gun leveled. Doors ding open in black, gaping maw that sucks up our flashlights. I'm at nope factor 10 and shaking like a leaf. Tiny pulls a chem light stick out of his thigh pouch. Don't ask. Dude carried a knife, lighter, chem lights, tourniquet, first aid kit, and extra magazine in this rig he had on his thigh. Total mall ninja until he produced exactly what you needed every time. Cracks it, gives it a shake and underhands it in. No thud from hitting the back wall, nothing. Light just disappears. Elevator dings and doors shut again. Tiny races over and slaps the button to call it open again, then take his stance again. Ding, doors roll open. Fluorescent lit, dark wood paneling, handrails, white tile floor, elevator car greets us. I exhaled. What the hell? Tiny puts his gun away and scratches his head. He's beyond his depth as we peek our heads in. I look up and spot a small camera in the corner and suggest looking at the tapes. Might want to clarify one point. When the lights came back in the elevator car, the chem light was not there. We never found it after. Mosey our way back up to level 2 and take a look at the CCTV display. This is where it gets even weirder. Shows us walking around until elevator doors open. Feed from inside elevator cuts to static just before doors open. Comes back on later, probably when they open again with everything back to normal. The camera pointed down the hallway just shows me facing toward the elevator with the security room door open behind me. Camera pointed at the elevator area shows doors open on blackness, but angle is tight enough that you can't see Tiny. No camera pointed at the elevator in the basement. Tiny suggests I back up footage further. Nothing's all over. The camera inside the elevator cuts out here and there, but nothing else. Suddenly, I remember the phone call that saved Tiny's ass. Check my cell phone. Missed call from boss, who when called back, call me an idiot. We lock up and Tiny goes to make a report to the client via email. Elevator dings and doors open on an inky blankness. Run back to cars, take off. Tiny files report that alarms triggered by coyotes that got in through the fence. The client buys the story. Every time there's an alarm after that, we yank the gates, pull the doors, and then hightail it. Long as the place didn't burn down, we didn't care. Client demoed the place the same year and built shitty apartments on the site. Seriously though, fuck that job.
Alright, so I've posted this on here and other websites before, but no one has ever been able to give an explanation. It's not long or a spooky story, but it's real. And that's the weird thing about it. Be about 8 years ago, I'm about 13 or 14. On the way to my mate's house. Parents are driving me. While we're driving, a car approaches from the distance. As it gets near us, the power cables from above fall and strike the other people's car. Their car flips. Me and Mum freak out. At this point, the power lines are snaking about on the floor. Dad is confused as to what we're talking about. He doesn't see what just happened. Me and Mum tell him to stop, but he just keeps driving because he can't see anything. Get to my mate's house. On the way back, Mum tells Dad to slow down as there's going to be emergency services there. They get to the place and there's nothing there. Power lines are still up. No car flipped. Nothing. So what happened /X/? Any legitimate explanation of why me and my mum both saw what happened that day, but Dad didn't. We thought maybe we saw the future or some shit, but since then, the area we drove past has been changed somewhat, as there's now building on the side of the road.
Archie had practically lived like a pioneer half of the time, in a woods hunting, skinning, trapping, the whole 9 yards. Had a huge collection of firearms, likely a dozen revolvers and a couple dozen long guns. I know little of gun terminology, and time doesn't make it easier to identify them, but I'm confident it was an assortment of old shotguns and rifles, some of them double-barreled or over-under. I think some were even the ones that are the first semi-automatic rifles. This is a big log and stone cabin with lots of room for him to display every piece in its own memorial. He kept each individual gun with trophies he had gotten with that gun. Bear heads, panther heads, antlers ranging from pencils to baseball bats. If a gun had done something, it'd show. Except for 3 which were left in the corner, barely visible and hidden behind the many trophies associated with the other members of his collection. I thought the guns looked sad. I'm that corner they were completely ignored, and it was obvious that he didn't care if he forgot they ever existed, tucked away back there. Cobwebs in the barrels and everything. Ask him why those guns that seem just as good as the other ones don't have any achievements. He grabs me by the shoulders, pushes me into a seat, and pulls up a stool which he sets on. He starts telling me about how those guns, rifle, shotgun, and a revolver, failed him in such a manner they don't deserve a chance to prove themselves. He was kinda odd like that. He tells me about being in a woods and how things work a bit differently out in the wilderness than cozied up to civilization. He says he's been to lots of places, hiked up and done laps in the Appalachian where the beasts have a kind of endurance that separates them from others. Reminder, this is all secondhand. I've never been out there and had spoopy stuff happen or hear similar stories from other relatives. When he traveled up the Mississippi, the beasts were faster and harder to track. He never described those creatures as being abnormal, but the next one he insisted was not meant to exist in a world with man. He was out enough that it was pretty common for him to be going through an area he has passed through before on separate trips. On his 3rd trip through one of those areas, he became aware he had garnered the attention of something. I think it did creep him out and make him uneasy, but the man had that revolver, rifle, and shotgun with him each of those times. The creature he found there wasn't swift like the stuff by the rivers, nor was it undaunted by him as the mountain creatures were. On his 4th trip through that area, he found proof something in the area was interested in him. First, he found tracks within whatever remained of earlier passes through. Soon, though, new tracks were making trails to lure him down unexplored trails that he had never been through. At that point, he noticed there was never, not even one set of tracks from anything in that area. No boar passed through, no deer or bear, no bobcats or varmint. 6th time he had a confrontation with it, whatever it was. He had come to a 2-way fork with a trail split, one way being his former route and the other being a mimicry of the ones he had created. He decided for the first time to go down the strange imposter trail. It was only a few hundred feet before he decided he had to turn around. He didn't know where this path was going to lead him or when he'd reach any open ground. When he did, about halfway back to the fork, the bushes to his right rustled and the undergrowth tore and snapped from something. No blood and copper smell or some BS like that. As he entered sight of where the trail had split, something strolled out of the foliage it had remained concealed in for so long. It didn't move in the purposeful, measured manner things usually move in. He said it was more like a rattlesnake rattling its tail. A kind of fluid, smooth movement that could just as easily be the end of it moving or the beginning. I'm not quite sure that I understand what that means. He takes a good look at this thing and is disgusted. It is a blight on nature, something every other beast would shun. It is not a boar nor bear, carries not the crown of deer or the darkness of panthers. And the thing is downright spoopy, so he does what any sensible person would do. He fires the double-barreled shotgun at its right hip. Immediately, the thing lurches backwards and bits of flesh, fur, and blood splatter around. Then it stumbles backwards and leans into the bushes the thing wobbled out of in a slightly less slender manner. Right now, the thing is making all kinds of noise, growling and wild shrieking, unsettling laughter and mumbled calls that might have been words but might just as likely have been gibberish. Started reloading the shotgun but just dropped it. The way the thing scrambled after that shot it took demonstrated the shotgun didn't penetrate its hide well enough, and so the shotgun failed him forever. He was whipping the revolver out of his pants' tactical pocket belt holster when that smell started. Now he had his revolver out and ready, so he pushed the bush out of his way so he could see the thing stroll towards one of the other paths it had made. He shot 6 times. 2 misses, 1 went through the neck and would have likely went out the chin. 1 hit where the heart would be if it was on the right, and the shoulder and shoulder blade. Thing gave 0 fucks and scooted on. This should be the last bit. He's pissed the thing has shrugged off all the hits it's took and just decided to go on its way. Fuck you, revolver. Rifle, don't be a failure like those two. Rifle out. It's not really going anywhere too fast, so he takes a few moments to get a look at the thing. He sees the spots where his revolver shots went in, but they seem like when they went through the fur and hid, they got caught in it and caught up like a stretched rubber band. Mangled mess of fur keeps anything from penetrating deep. Dunno what the hell you are, but you better not teach no bucks how to do that, you mangy mutton mannequin. What did you call it? 4 shots from the rifle all target that spot on the shoulder, where 2 revolver rounds hit. They all hit but do little more than making it a little scattering of bald patches where the fur ripped in tangles. Fuck that thing. The fur jammed into the bullet holes, and the mess of fur around them is soaking up the majority of what it might have been bleeding. Bloodied some fur that likely had more fur grow over it. Those guns never accomplished anything and never will. Then he was wanted somewhere and had to stop there. Not much of a finish, but I never got the chance to see if there was anything more that happened.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.